Hi, we're Shannon and Jerry Arner.
And our dog, Betty White.
Your hosts of the Arner Adventures podcast.
Could we have named it something more creative? Probably. But it's the name of our blog. It's our last name. We're on an adventure. Yada, yada, yada. After running our own business, working 24/7.
And don't forget a mental breakdown in between.
We made a lifestyle change and decided to make the most out of life.
We sold our house, most of our belongings, downsized, and moved to the coast.
We live life minimally, but fully.
We live each day as an adventure.
This show will help you learn how to live life more fully, with more intention, by experiencing more, and with less stuff.
We'll talk about our own experiences, interview others who have much to share by creating a spark in our lives.
Some days we'll share real-life ongoings of what we're going through, and others will talk about our favorite flavor of waffle.
Come join our adventure.
It's the Arner Adventures Podcast.
Hello, everyone. I'm Shannon. Miss Betty White is snuggled here at my feet, and we are back for episode 87 of the Arner Adventures Podcast. You may notice so far that it's just me, Shannon, on this episode. We're going to share with you today some of the top productivity tools that we use to run Arner Adventures, the business, arneradventures.com as a whole. And while Jerry is an integral part of that, of course, the back end of the things that I'm going to be talking about today, the tech and sort of app platform world that is such a back end part of our business, he's not so involved with. So why subject him to this conversation, right? And also we're being authentic. We didn't want him, sitting here and commenting on things that he didn't really understand or have to deal with. So we thought, let's just go ahead and move on to episode with just me. So it is just me today. Before we get to the episode, I would love it if you could please provide us a bit of support by leaving us a 5-star review or rating on the platform you're listening to us on, or watching. If you're on YouTube watching us, you can give us a thumbs up and subscribe. It helps to serve our content up to others who may enjoy this type of conversation, this type of content, and we really appreciate it more than you know. So let's get to it. Today, like I said, I'm going to share the top productivity tools for streamlining operations and enhancing efficiency with Arner Adventures. So if you're listening to this, you may be, if you're not familiar with Arner Adventures, or you only came on board when we started the podcast, you may be thinking, well, what do they even have to do? What is Arner Adventures? And so while Jerry and I and Betty White are, our lifestyle, we call it an Arner Adventure. Arner Adventures is a business. It's a sort of multifaceted venture that encompasses just different aspects of content creation, brand promotion, advocacy for sustainable and minimalist living, animal advocacy, mental health awareness, podcasting, and the development of aligned products, which that's going to be coming up probably in the next, few months. So we won't get to that part. But while Arner Adventures may not fit neatly into a single traditional category of business, it can be described as, a forward-thinking lifestyle platform with an emphasis on positive change and empowerment. So we're going to go through and I'm going to talk about, the things that help in these different areas, like content creation. Arner Adventures serves as a content hub. We provide a range of creative and informative content through our blog, our podcast, our future product offerings I mentioned. The content is really and truly designed to inspire, educate, and empower individuals seeking a lifestyle that aligns with their values, whatever they may be. Our brand promotion and collaborations, I always talk about how we always partner with brands that we use or we fully believe in, that resonate with our mission and values. So these collaborations contribute to raising awareness for the things we talked about. Another part of our business is the advocacy. So, when we take a role encouraging others to practice sustainable and minimalist living, we have a way that we create that information. Before we, share it, we have to create it, then get the word out. So the business part of that, we're going to go over. Mental health awareness kind of goes along with that. The podcasting, this podcast is produced by the business, Arner Adventures, to amplify our messaging about engaging, in conversations with people who have lived these these lives, or either transferred to a life that may not fit inside the quote unquote normal box of what people expect them to do. And so that aligns with our values. And so we needed to promote that. And then the product development, which is some future product offerings that, go beyond the scope of these, but we're going to get into that in detail a little bit later. But so moving forward, while we might not fit into a category like a media company, we are a lifestyle platform. And so we're going to talk about the ways that, our venture continues to evolve and diversify and move forward. So let's talk about the tools that we use on a daily basis or almost daily basis to enhance everything that we're trying to do here on our ventures. We're going to actually get to it finally. So this is not like episode 27, which we talked about our productivity and time management tools that we use. That was definitely all about time management, things that you can do to be more productive with your time. These are definitely time savers, but that episode 27, we'll link it down in the show notes in case you're interested, talked about, the Pomodoro method, batch working, ways to stay tuned into your work and things like that. So if you want to go to that episode, click that link. You can listen to that maybe after this one if you never heard it. So here we go. The first section of a few platforms we're going to talk about is the communication and collaboration tools. The first one I wanted to mention is WhatsApp. Again, all of these tools are going to be linked in the show notes. And for some of them, I have coupon codes because before this podcast, I reached out to them and said, hey, I would love to be able to share with our audience coupons or discounts or anything like that. So if they exist, if it's offered, it's in the show notes. So you can check it out. But WhatsApp is the best tool for us for international communication. So not only is this the primary way that we communicate with our VA, Cindy, who you saw a few podcasts back, she lives in Colombia. So we don't have to utilize, some kind of an international plan on our phone. We can just communicate WhatsApp and we can have discussions. We can, verbal, we can do text, we share files, just different things like that. It's also a really great communication tool when we're chatting with people or brands who live out of the US. We communicate with them that same way. And then when we're out of the country or, out of phone range, we can always use WhatsApp. So it's a really, really great communication tool. And, voice calls, file sharing, messaging, all the things that you can do with your cell phone, you can still do on your cell phone. You just use the WhatsApp and it's great. It also, if you want to turn your phone down during the day and you don't want to be bothered, you can keep WhatsApp on your computer and it'll be there. If Cindy's messaging me, I'll just see it on my laptop and then I can just message her back. So it's really great to still stay focused without having your phone on if you don't want it on. The second platform that falls underneath this is StreamYard. So if you're watching this was recorded on StreamYard, the visual, and then the audio too. We extract the audio from StreamYard, and then that is what we edit to put on our podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple, all Podchaser, all of those. So while we love Google Meet, it's wonderful, right? It's just all in your calendar. You can just click it, go to a meeting. We're going to talk about Google a little bit more later. The platform as far as Google Meet just has not been as reliable for us. I meet with Cindy, our VA, once a week, and we were just always having these lagging issues with it. We switched over to StreamYard, which at that point we had only been using for podcast recording, but now we meet every week on StreamYard. We can record it if we want to, or we can just meet on there and have a virtual, visual conversation. It's a really great platform for virtual meetings and for recording if you want to do presentations or anything like that. And since we already have it and we're paying for it for, the podcast recording, it's just nice that we can still use it. There is a link if you're interested in it, and you can receive $10 in credit towards your plan in the show notes. So the next thing talking about Google is Google Drive. Google Drive is where it's really the hub of all things that we have for our documents, our contracts, our templates. Oh my gosh, templates. If you do something several times, even in a week, I highly encourage you to create a template. So we have templates for almost everything. Of course, we want things to be personalized, but if you use a template and you keep it in Google Drive, you can just click it, edit it a little bit, tweak it for what you need, send an email. Or, for this podcast episode, we have templates for all of our episodes, things that we want to make sure that we cover. We make checklists in Google Drive to make sure that, the podcast preparation, did we get all the assets we need? Did we do the research that we need? Did we do the show notes? All of those things. There's so much in Google Drive that we have, and we have folders for everything. We have forms that feed into a response information spreadsheet, sheets. And yeah, it's just the home of everything for Arner Adventures, as well as personal too. We have Jerry and I have all of our personal documents on there. And since we are primarily a paperless business, we really, really dedicate everything towards the dependence upon Google Drive. So I don't know what we're going to do if that ever leaves, but hopefully it won't. The next thing that's also really great for collaboration and communication for us, you've heard us talk about it on our podcast before, is Flowdesk. So Flowdesk we use for our weekly email newsletter. If you're on that list, you get it every Sunday. We create and distribute information in there. It's very visually appealing. I have used every single email platform there is. And Flowdesk is the most aesthetically pleasing. It's so streamlined. It has better analytics. It is just so great if you are in any business. If you're listening to this and you're a content creator, but if you're in this and you're working a corporate job in marketing or communication, I highly encourage you to switch to Flowdesk. You're just going to find it's a more pleasing experience. Like, we never dread going in there making a newsletter, or, something else we do is that we use it to communicate on a larger level when we need to send a press release, or if we need to send something to a group that we work with. We get in there and we use Flowdesk, and it's just so great. Building and maintaining, relationships through the platform of Flowdesk and the emails in there is just so great. I think, I know that there's a link for that too in the show notes, and you can receive 50% off your plan by using that. So moving on to the second section of this, which is the organizational and planning tools. Google Calendar. I live and die by my Google Calendar. If it's not on the Google Calendar, it does not exist in my world, period. If I tell someone I'm going to do something, if I don't put it in the Google Calendar, I won't be there because I forget. So one of the things you're going to find that I mentioned several times in this is the more things you can automate and the more things that you can put into a place of having a routine automation for, the less you have to use your brain for those minute things. I would rather use my brain for things that it actually is worthwhile spending time on than trying to figure out what appointment I have this afternoon. I just pull up my calendar and there it is. Are you ready for your summer adventures? Well, we've got something amazing to make your travel experience a breeze.
Absolutely. Say goodbye to the hassle of checking your luggage and wasting time at the airport. We've got the perfect solution for you.
It's our fave, the Base Carry-On Rollers, your ultimate travel companion for the season. With Base, you can pack smarter and lighter so you can make the most of your summer getaway.
We've been flooded with questions about how we manage to avoid checking our luggage, and our answer is simple. Pack smarter and choose Base.
Forget about those extra fees and waiting at the baggage claim. The Base Carry-On Rollers are designed to fit all your essentials in one compact size, so you can breeze through the airport without a worry, and they are super chic.
Plus, we've got a special treat for you. Head over to the arneradventures.com/base. That's BEIS, and grab the link to save $15 off your first purchase.
Trust us, this is a game changer. All our family and friends who travel with us now rely on Base luggage because they got tired of hearing me complain about wasting time.
So don't miss out on this incredible offer. Visit arneradventures.com/base to grab the link. It's also conveniently located in the show notes.
Get ready for happy travels and a summer filled with unforgettable adventures. Now back to the show. I use it for scheduling. I use it for time management. If I want to block off a certain amount of time to work on blogs, sorry, Betty's snoring in the background if you hear her. But if I want to set time for anything on a regular basis, I use Google Calendar for it. Sometimes people will, I don't know, use their own calendar for something. I sync whatever it is into Google Calendar. I use it for reminders, watering my plants once a week, Betty's appointments. I literally have it in the morning at 6 a.m. It tells me, take Betty for a walk. Now, I've not missed a walk with Betty in years, but I just have it on there so that I know it is dedicated time that I'm going to go in there and it's blocked off. Not that anyone would try to schedule an appointment with me at 6 a.m., but I just want it to integrate with everything else in my world and know that if it's in the Google Calendar, it's committed to and it's going to happen. Which leads me to Calendly. Calendly is an online appointment scheduling platform. You may have used, if you don't use it for your business, you may have used it when you're scheduling appointments with other people. It's a dedicated link that you can send someone once you've set it up, that you can say, hey, here's my Calendly link. Pick a time that works for you to meet with me. And so what you do is you have this customized calendar for different types of meetings if you want, or you just have it for one, but you sync your digital calendar to it. So I have it synced with my Google Calendar. So if someone tries to schedule an appointment with me and I have something on my Google Calendar, they cannot schedule it during that time. The other thing you can do is like for podcast recordings, we only record those at certain times. So like with a guest. So in Calendly, I do have it saying, okay, make sure you look at my Google Calendar, but I also have don't schedule on these days. So if someone's going to schedule on Saturday, they see they have the availability on Saturday only. And then it also coincides with my Google Calendar. So if I have something going on from 1 to 4 on Saturday, that person would not be able to schedule on Calendly. So it's also great because you can create workflows in there. Like if someone schedules with you, what should happen next? Do they get a confirmation? You can create the email if you want that they automatically get. And, just everything that you want to happen after a person schedules. It's so great. Every year I kind of go through all of my platforms thinking when they're up for renewal, and I'm like, do I really need that? Do I need to pay for it again? Or if it's free, do I need it cluttering up my world? And Calendly is something that every year I ask myself, do I really need that? And then someone will schedule something and just the whole automation of it makes it where, yes, I need to keep it. So I will not be getting rid of it. The next thing that, for a long time I tried to use, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to use this. But now that we collaborate like with RVA and also the person who helps me on my website, Danny, is Trello. So Trello is a project management tool, and it just helps you put your projects on there. It helps you track the different tasks that might go with the project. There's these visual boards, lists. In my world, it's kind of like these different lists. So like, okay, under the podcast board, there are these different tasks that need to happen before the podcast can be live. Or we put blog ideas on there. If someone DMs us or, sends us a message and is asking different questions, sometimes we'll have questions people are asking us so that we can tackle it in a later podcast or in a blog or something like that. So you can have it by yourself, or you can ask people to collaborate with you on it. So if I have different tasks that I am hoping Cindy will help me with, I will put it on the Cindy board, and it will just have different tasks asking her, hey, can you help me with this? And then Danny, the person who helps take care of our website, if I want to change on my website, I can just put it on his card, and then that says Danny Web, and then he can go in there and see the different tasks that I have, and then he can update me on the status of it. It's just a really great platform. I've used so many of them, and Trello is the only one that I find to be so helpful. There's a link for it in the show notes as well. The free version is absolutely fabulous. We paid, I think, just a few dollars more so that I could collaborate with more people and have the due dates and tasks go to my Google Calendar, but it's well worth it. So the third section of this conversation is about customer relationship management and creativity. So the platform I want to talk about first under this is a CRM, which is called Zoho. If you don't know what a CRM is, it's a platform for customer relationship management. Essentially, that means it's a database where you can put companies you work with, contacts underneath those companies, and then it tracks the relationships you have. So for me, being with Arnart Ventures and then, spent now a few years reaching out to brands, or brands have reached out to me. And, instead of having to go through my emails and dig through all the communication, oh yeah, who was the person I need to talk to at this brand? It's all in Zoho. So if you've ever worked in any sales, or sometimes marketers have it, but in the past, when I worked in sales, we had like Salesforce. There's a few others. Zoho there's a free version, which is almost unheard of these days for CRMs. But I can't tell you how many other content creators, influencers, bloggers that I used to go to conferences and say, how are you keeping up with, your conversations with these brands? How are you managing the contacts underneath that? And no one really had anything except for, oh, I created a spreadsheet, or I, have it in a contact list that's in my email management. And I just thought, why isn't there anything like this in this world, in this arena? And so I just decided, well, I know that Zoho is free, and so I'm just going to use it and then put all of my contacts in there. And then when I email them, I can put, yeah, they were emailed this date. Here's what we said. But then over the past year, when Cindy came on board as our VA, I realized I needed a little bit more of its availability for different things that you can upgrade to, like emailing from their platform. So you can send an email and it still comes from your email. It just goes through Zoho and goes ahead and tracks that activity. So the whole database, I can tweak a little bit more when you pay for it. You definitely don't have to pay for it. I just wanted a little bit more of the bells and whistles to be able to do some things in Zoho. I'll have a link for that as well, so that you'll see what I'm talking about. Zoho offers a bunch of different of their platforms, but this is the CRM. So managing a database of people, contacts, all of that stuff. Something else I'll just tell you is at the end of the year, when I send like a thank you card or a holiday, card thanking people for working for them, asking, is there anything that we can do to help them? I use this database. I just pull the addresses from it and then just, write out my cards. It's just a really great system for managing contacts, leads, sales activities, all of that seamlessly. So the next thing, because this is under creativity, is Canva. Now, if you're listening to this, you probably already know about Canva. It seems like everyone knows about Canva, but we use it daily. Of course, we use it for design collaboration, content creation, designing templates, graphics for the blogs, graphics for the show notes for the podcast, marketing materials, enhanced branding, media kit. If there's something on our website that we want tweaked a little bit, the graphics and design part, we'll get into Canva and do it. It's just such a great platform. And like for me, Adobe and Photoshop and the whole Creative Cloud is so confusing for me. And I've even taken like workshops on it. I've met the Adobe creator folks face to face and tried to get in there. And, I think sometimes if you're used to something, it's just really hard to use something else. So I'm not going to down Adobe. I just found that for me, Canva is so much easier. And I just do everything in there, like everything in there. It's great. I do have a link for them in the show notes where there is a free plan and then there's a paid plan. I'll just tell you, the free plan is so limited that you're probably going to find yourself upgrading pretty fast, but it's very affordable and totally worth it. The next thing that I wanted to talk about, and you folks who don't create pins or do anything with Pinterest or being like, I don't care, but listen to this because I'm going to tell you why it's important. Tailwind. So for you folks who are creating pins and you're doing Pinterest scheduling and all of that, if you're not on Tailwind, like you have to get on Tailwind because you can create, 3 pins for a blog, a web page, anything on your website, 3 pins, and put them in Tailwind, and you end up getting, I don't know, probably on average, depending on how many boards you have, I don't know, 30 or 40 pins out of the 3. And then it just kind of schedules it out for you. It's, I will tell you, Tailwind is an official partner with Pinterest. So you can totally feel comfortable knowing that whatever strategy they recommend for you in Tailwind is totally safe. You're not going to get your Pinterest in Pinterest jail, on hold. Oh, it's shut down for a little bit. The reason Pinterest is so great, other than, you may get on there and search for things to do, I don't know, whatever you're looking for. It's also, a good search engine. But Tailwind does a really great job of taking what you have as a strategy for getting traffic to your website. If you have a website and you definitely want traffic, right? You want your quote unquote customer coming to your website, whether it's for a blog, if it's for a product, whatever it is, you want to use Tailwind because it's going to elevate that strategy through these scheduled pins and optimization. It's just a great way to improve traffic to your website. Great. I was doing it here and there and definitely scheduling on Pinterest. But then when Cindy came on board, that was one of the things I really needed a VA to do was every time I write a blog, hey, okay, the blog is ready. Can you create 3 pins? Can you schedule them in Tailwind? She does it every time. And our Pinterest audience, I mean, I'm terrible at math, but it's more than doubled. I mean, I would say it's probably quadrupled. And then the traffic going to our website, you can see like in our analytics every month, the traffic that's coming from Pinterest has spiked up to where it's one of our top 5 routes of traffic. So highly recommend Tailwind. There's different plans depending on how many pins you want to do. It's so great. I cannot say enough about that or really any of these platforms. So the next area, the last area we're going to talk about is the financial management and accountability. So these are tools that contribute to the financial clarity and accountability for Arner Adventures. So the first one that I want to talk about is QuickBooks. Now, QuickBooks is one of those things that everyone's heard of. Not everyone's used it. There are different plans. So some people say, oh, it's too expensive. But number one, I have a link that's going to be able to save you for 6 months, 50% off. But even without that, the plan that we have, I think it's either for small business or whatever that first one is so inexpensive. I think it's like $25 a month, but it is so helpful when tax time comes because it tracks all of your income. It tracks your expenses. It generates, profit and loss reports, all the financial management, invoicing, everything you need for your business is in there. And for a few years, we were just keeping track of Arner Adventures stuff in Google Sheets. And it wasn't running reports I needed. When tax time came, it was just taking me a lot longer to get through what we had coming in and going out for, expenses and all of that. But now it's so easy. I go in there once a month and say, okay, how much did we get from brand collaborations? How much did we get from web traffic? All these different things. I can just pull it up really quickly. And in Google Sheets, I had to always sort it. And then, again, more thinking than I wanted to do. So I highly recommend QuickBooks. And since I did just talk about Google Sheets, I'm going to talk about Google Sheets for basic financial tracking. So I used to do this, create budgets, expense logs, financial projections. if you don't want to do anything with QuickBooks yet, most definitely try Google Sheets. You can link it, have it hyperlinked for different months, and there's plenty of free templates available on on Google Sheets. If you want to have a template that someone else has created and you're going to use it, you can definitely do that. It's just a really great way to also track if you don't want to invest in a paid opportunity like QuickBooks. So the next thing I want to talk about, and it's our last platform, is Wise. Wise, if you're not familiar, is a cost-effective international payment platform. Multi-currency, for example, our VA does not live in the US. She lives in Colombia. So I'm going to use her as an example, and then I'm going to use some other things as an example. But because she lives in Colombia, and I would, paying her through PayPal takes a huge chunk out of her amount. Like there's a lot of fees, right? The fees are more. So Wise, if you go to Wise, and it's totally safe, there's no issues, with it. It simplifies currency conversions, reducing transaction costs. You don't pay. I think there's I don't know, some kind of a little fee that you could get if you're sending mass amounts, but you don't get charged. It's a free platform to use. I have paid vendors, like freelance vendors before, in the Philippines, in Pakistan, and I've used Wise because I don't have to think about, well, what is the conversion going to be? And they really like Wise because when I use it, they don't have these huge chunks that are taken out the way that PayPal does. Look, PayPal serves its purpose. It's great, right? I mean, it's a great, quick way to get money. But if you're working internationally, Wise is a really great platform to use for international vendors or freelance or whatever. So if you are finding yourself sending international payments or even receiving international payments, I highly encourage you to go to the show notes, click Wise, and just set up an account. It's totally free, and just try it and see the difference, because you're definitely going to find a difference compared to PayPal and their big fees. So that's it. I mean, that's sort of going through what we use every single day, the things that help us stay productive and help us, boost our efficiency are those tools. They all have these really great benefits. They're all going to be linked in the show notes, along with any discount codes, like I mentioned. Nothing on this show is sponsored. Please know that this is not sponsored from any of the people in this platform. If there's a sponsor, you're going to hear a commercial for it, but none of the people in this episode sponsored this. We use these platforms on a regular basis. And I've just found that through the years of having Arner Adventures, people are so close to the vest with their information. And I don't understand that. Just, it's not like someone's taking something from me for using Flowdesk or, for paying somebody in Wise. I don't know. It took, some people shared some information. I think there's a couple of these resources that someone shared with me, but most of them I just had to find and learn on my own, because people just don't share their valuable information. So I think we need to share it. And if you know of a better way of doing something that eases and streamlines anything that you have going on, tasks during your day, let's share it with each other. If there's some that you've heard about and you think we should know about it, please let us know. We just, really encourage listeners to explore and adopt tools that are going to be relevant for your business, and just, again, helps it where you don't have to think so much. The less I have to think about for the minute things and just the little tasks that are important, but there's a lot of them during the day. And if you can just automate that and just have things to handle it, it's so much easier just, getting through as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. So yeah, what we talked about is important for Arner Adventures, our commitment to, helping simplify things for people and help us all have just a better quality of life. Well, these platforms go along with that. So Yeah, if you have any questions, comments, let us know. Thank you for hanging around if you did this long. And stay tuned because Jerry will be back next week.
If this episode resonated with you, or if you know of someone who would benefit from anything we talked about today, or any episode, our guests, or anything, please share it with a friend. It's a great way of supporting the podcast and us, and we really appreciate it.
Another way of supporting the pod is by leaving us a 5-star review rating on the platform you're listening to us on. Oh, and go ahead and hit that subscribe button because that also supports us. We would love that.
You can always find us, links we refer to during the show, and any of the podcast sponsors at arneradventures.com or linked here in these show notes. And until next time, enjoy that journey you're on. We're wishing you lots of adventures.
Adios.
Arrivederci.
Au revoir.
Adios.
Sayonara.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Dos vidaniana.